This is Go Powercat publisher Tim Fitzgerald, and we appreciate you listening to the Powercat podcast. You can now subscribe to our podcast with iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify, among many others. Or you can just come to GoPowercat.com and use the Megaphone.fm player. And remember, K-State fans, you can get 30% off an annual subscription to GoPowercat.com. Complete, independent, professional coverage of Kansas State sports with analysis and commentary you will find nowhere else. Now here's the Powercat podcast.
The following is a Spirit Street production. You've discovered your link to the Powercat podcast, presented by Fridge Wholesale Liquor. It's the Powercat podcast. And now, let's go to the Spirit Street Studios. Here's your host, Go Powercat publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
It's another edition of the Powercat podcast as we load up your ears, fill your senses here on the 4th of July weekend. Tim Fitzgerald and Marcus Watts are your podcasting team this week. Riley Gates is on vacation. Zach Carlson is doing his other summer gig and doing it quite well. He's in charge of one of the Manhattan pools.
Hopefully he's doing it well.
Yeah, 4th of July is a little busy for him. Keep the kids above water.
Yeah.
Don't let them go to the bottom of the pool.
Correct.
That's a bad thing.
Yes.
This is the Powercat podcast. We're sponsored by the Fridge Wholesale Liquor. It's the 4th of July weekend. We know what you're going to do. If you're a person who does that and you're in the area, go to the Fridge. They will be able to tell you this is the perfect thing for the 4th of July, be it vodka, rum.
What the whole store is.
Beer.
Just depends what you like.
Wine, if you're a wine person. Is wine a 4th of July drink? Come on.
I mean, if you're eating steaks,
it's
like a red one.
Shouldn't that be like a French Revolution? If you are a person that enjoys the French Revolution, get some wine. But for the 4th of July, stick with beer and things of that nature. Maybe some Kentucky bourbon, or do what I do. The most American thing of all that I buy at the Fridge, Mexican beer. Nothing says the 4th of July better than a Pacifico.
Okay.
I don't mean to get political, but if everyone coming from Mexico could just bring me a case of Pacifico, that'd be great. Be great.
You could have a lot of Pacifico.
Let's get into your questions from Wabash Station as we launch into a second holiday edition of the Powercat podcast right here from the beautiful, wonderful, opulent WTC Gig Powered Studios. And we start off with Wildcat Pilot 88, which I mistyped as Wildcat Plot 88, so it sounded like he was up to something. Sorry, it's Wildcat Pilot. What is the role of a sports alum in a university? Is there a role?
Not really. I think we become fans after we're gone. Some take it a little bit further, for themselves. Some will, get really into social media and post a bunch of stuff. If the university calls the players and would like them to come back and speak to former players, I'm sure, some would be open to it, some wouldn't. Some expect stuff from the university because of what they did there, and they expect free stuff and free tickets and all that stuff. I wish there was probably a little bit more kind of that. Unless your name's like Jordy Nelson or Terrence Newman or Darren Sproles, it's not as easy to get, game tickets to a game.
Well, plus Jordy has a locker room named after him because
and his generosity and stuff. But unless you're famous or in the NFL, you just can't come back to any game and be like, hey, can I be on the sideline or can I get a ticket for this game? It's a little bit more difficult for some people. I think. It's just to be a fan and be supportive. You understand what the players have to go through day in and day out more than anybody else. Yeah, people hear about it. Oh, they got to do this, this, and this, but nobody really understands what you have to go through.
Yeah.
It's literally dusk till dawn.
Yeah.
Every
You're a
day,
student.
except for, a week, 2 weeks at the end of May, a week before camp starts, and a couple weeks if you don't make it to a bowl game, or a week if if you do. So
Right.
you don't have any time off. And you have 2 jobs, 2 full-time jobs, a student and an athlete. So it's very difficult.
You strike me, you're an interesting study because you played 10 years ago plus, right? You finished up in 08?
12, yeah. Yep. No, 07.
07?
So this is going on my
12th year?
12th year.
You were a prominent player in your era, but that fades.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the prominence of that fades as new guys roll through. But you've kind of stuck in the forefront of people. I mean, particularly you're from Hayes. You're from Western Kansas. You were well known coming out of Hayes, and now your job takes you into Western Kansas. How recognized are you out there? Do people still?
I mean, the good thing about football is you have a helmet on.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I was on a billboard across Kansas and posters and stuff, I mean, obviously I don't look exactly like I used to 12 years ago.
If you waved a power tie.
I have more baldness, more pattern baldness going on. But once you introduce yourself, they'll know if they're a K-State fan, if they're a football fan. I've had that, but
Do you go by Mark though?
no, I mean legally, like through my work and stuff, everything's like Mark, but I don't introduce myself as Mark.
You don't want to be associated with your dad. We know him. It's no.
And if people don't know, I'm legally, my name is Mark, M-A-R-C, but I've gone by Marcus my whole life. So,
Which is odd. You would think it's Marcus, but you've got it shortened to Mark. Mm-hmm. At no point has your name legally been Marcus.
no, it's never been Marcus. On my birth certificate is Mark, M-A-R-C.
So I could just change my name to whatever I want.
Sure. Timothy?
Tornado. Tornado.
No. So,
Do you interact with other football guys? I know you do, Jordy, but
I don't a lot.
Well, I don't want you to speak
I
out
was-
of turn to what they tell you, but do you get a vibe from other guys about this new program?
I didn't talk to too many people about it. I more talk to people in the know that maybe aren't football players. So a lot of the information that I get and have, I don't share with many people, just because I don't want to. I don't burn bridges and stuff like that. But I don't. I talked to Jordy a little bit about it. That's about it. Just because I saw him a couple weeks ago, but I haven't really talked. I don't talk to any other football players besides Jordy.
We're not lying when we say you work and you raise 2 boys.
Yeah, I work. I raise 2 boys. I talk to Antoine Plight every once in a while. The tornado that just went through Lawrence not too long ago.
What's he doing in Lawrence? Wait.
Well, he lives in Lawrence, but he works in Topeka.
I guess I would do the same.
But yeah, I don't know why he's there. So, but he's holding the fort down for us.
Yeah,
That's what he's doing. He's painting as much purple as he can throughout the
there's
town.
a lot of purple in Lawrence.
So, no, anyway, so I don't, I kind of fell out of touch with a lot of them. I was more close to the guys that were older and a couple of years older than me than I was with guys in my class. So when I was in college, when we weren't at football, I was hanging out with, Antoine and Jesse Tetuan, and going, me and Dillmeyer kind of would just go with those guys, when they'd go to parties or something like that. So I don't know. I got work, I got kids, I just don't have a lot of time to just say, check in on people, see how they're doing and stuff. But, when they come back for the family reunion game, the ones that do, not a lot of them come back. That's more kind of the older guys come back for that. Not many from my class come back from that or from when I played. But then you also have, Prince guys versus Snyder guy. It's just, it's weird. Even though I consider myself a Snyder guy.
Right.
Even though I played 2 years under Prince and was a senior when Prince.
Jordy made his name under Prince. I consider him a Snyder guy. that's how you guys entered the program.
Yeah. But Jordy's first year, as my first year under Snyder, were pretty good. Mm-hmm. And then Jordy's junior year was it slacked off because he was hurt.
Right.
He had a PCL injury. But then he blew up his senior year.
Amazing.
And I was just destroyed.
You had nothing left?
I had nothing left.
Well, I'm going
to... I made my name under Schneider.
Right.
And I think Jordy did too, even though he blew up his senior year. But everything was geared offensively for Jordy and Josh that senior year for Jordy. And Jordy worked hard, did everything to make himself that, but...
It's weird. We're talking about him, and I'm literally staring at I'm looking right past you to his image on our wall.
Yeah.
I'm not going to share the name of the former player, but excuse me, guys. I was at K-State 82 to 86. So on the tail end of my fraternity experience, the younger guys were coming into the program, and onto campus. So I'm friends with a former player through the fraternity, and I interact with him. He's part of the foundation, so to speak. And I'm not going to mention his name because it was kind of a private conversation, but he did share that the foundation era is really concerned about this. They feel like Coach was run off, which in some ways he was. He said they're not happy with me because I played a role in that. And I'm like, well.
You played a role?
Yeah. I mean, I was the one that wrote the story to say it's time, and I've been a little aggressive.
If anybody, and I'm not trying to defend Fitz at all, but if anybody in this world thinks that an article can run somebody off or make the 80, you know what? That's a good idea. That's a great article. I should do that.
I'm that influential.
Come on.
Well, I totally ran off Gary Patterson.
Yeah.
I totally did that all.
I mean, people that I laugh at people. I don't get involved in social. I see it all on social media. It's just social media is just a pile of crap.
I recognize that as a journalist, we have added voice. We have a stronger voice, but I don't think we're nearly as influential as people think, unless we write. With an opinion piece, or reporting, unless you write like a whistleblower, really, they're cheating, they're doing this, you really don't have that big impact on things. You just make people mad or happy or whatever you're doing. It's emotion-based, and people seem to be more emotional now than they ever have been. Like, if you say one thing, why do you hate him? Well, I don't. I just had an opinion.
Yeah, it's just like, Gene Taylor, okay, he didn't hire Bill, but he wasn't going to really, just run him off when he came here.
Right.
Things weren't going well. Recruiting was down.
And people, these guys that are further away from the program who have this very, like when Rome was built, they remember what it was. They don't see they didn't see the crumbling that was taking place, and we did because we were real close to it.
Yeah, and I love Coach to death, and I wanted him to be able to do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, and I have nothing bad to say about the man. But at a certain point, it's time.
Right.
And that's nothing against him.
No.
Whatever was going on just wasn't working anymore.
This was how it was always going to end.
And the 80's got to be on the lookout for not just, if ticket sales plummet and people don't go to games, it hurts you as a brand.
It was coming.
And I think the AD probably saw something like that was coming.
It was coming.
And so, he takes everything into consideration. And, there's never a right time to get rid of a legend. Never. So it didn't matter if he did it this year, if they did it this year, or if they did it next year, or if they did it 2 years ago. The same thing would have happened with people saying, oh, he was ran out, or oh, he didn't get to make his own mind. He should have been, it was time. There was never a right time. So, what I never wanted to happen was that something happened, he passed away on the job.
That would have been
the worst case scenario.
horrific and traumatic for everyone, fans on up.
Yeah.
If he had passed away on the job or on the sideline.
Yeah.
He was an amazing man in the fact that when he was coaching, he could handle 0 degrees and 100 degrees. I still don't know how he did it.
Exactly. So, I mean, obviously he didn't want to go out the way he did. He wanted to have gone out as with a winning record and, making a bowl game and, but it didn't happen that way. So it is what it is. As a former player, I didn't get too worked up about it because I've had Coach Snyder's back when it comes to everything. I have his back on how he treats media and, that most fans don't agree with that. The limited access that he gives. But I bet if you would talk to 70, well, probably more than that, probably 80%, 90% of the former players that played, from the late 80s to even 2 years ago, most of them would probably tell you, yeah, it was probably time to move on.
They're going to have a celebration for Coach Snyder on July 13th. The tickets are available. We've got information on our site or our newsletters. If you're not getting our Go Powercat newsletters, it's right there in the middle of the front page. Go sign up for that. Having some issues with sign-ups, so be patient. You might have to do it a couple times if you don't get them. We send them out basically daily, multiple times a day. There'll be multiple times when we're taping this on the 3rd. I've already sent one out. We'll do another one with the first podcast, and then whenever this one shows up. But this is good. Coach Snyder left. It was obviously awkward. No comments. Showed up at the press conference. Not available. Wouldn't really talk. He's talked a little bit with ESPN. You could sense. And now they're having this celebration. Good thought. I'm not crazy about some of the execution with this. It's like, okay, now it's going to be public. I think it was going to be a private event, right?
Yeah, it was going to be private.
Private event for big donors and
former players.
Then they decided to open it up on short notice, and I don't know that ticket sales are that impressive, but it's good. It needed a bow on it. It needed to say, okay, it's done. Because he just kind of left, and in a huff. It was, even if you didn't know that as a fan, you could probably sense it. It didn't end the way we would have wanted it, but it kind of, like I just said, it ended the way it always was going to end.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to retire. No matter how many times he said, I want to leave it better for the next person, I want to get he wasn't going to retire. He wanted to do this till the day he died. And if you're Gene Taylor, you can't let that happen. Oh my God, that'd been horrible.
I mean, you can let it happen. Oh, it's career suicide.
Yeah. Interesting question from Wildcat pilot or plot, depending on how your mood is. What do you see as the pros and cons going forward with the new coaching staff that maybe us as media fans don't see? Anything out there?
I mean, I think one thing is as fans, don't get so worked up about what happens today, what happens tomorrow, because it's too soon. So, let's say K-State starts the season 4-0. Beats Mississippi State, handles them nicely.
Goes to Oklahoma State.
Don't get too worked up about it. It's only 4 games. Because if you gotta look at, with an open mind that, and even if they start 0-4, which they won't, but let's say they do.
I'm going to get worked up.
I mean,
if they lose to Nicholls State.
I mean, if they lose to Nicholls State, but okay, 1-4, sorry, or 1-3, 1-2, or 2
right.
Whatever. Just you got to give it time. I don't know if there's any pros or cons to it. It's just when he says something, or they got 17 commitments. I'm just like, okay, you got a commitment. Show me the 17 on signing day. Commitments mean crap. They really don't mean anything, honestly. Maybe in some people's eyes they do, but until they sign on the dotted line, right, they're not yours. Now, some of those kids, a lot of them are like, oh, this is a guarantee, but at any time they could be gone.
This is my new thing I want from recruiting services. We do the star ratings. This guy's a 2-star, 4-star, 5-star. We at 24/7 do the crystal ball. I think he's going to sign with, I love the guys that find out the kid's going to sign and then do the crystal ball, and then it's announced, that he's going to. I want the star rating for recruiting commitment stickiness. 1-star through 5-star.
Yeah.
If you're a 1-star, good chance you're going somewhere else, or you're 5-star solid. That's what I want. That's my brilliant idea. Shannon, Terry, write that down.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess a pro would be, there's going to be a lot of change, a lot of different things, but it's also not going to look that different.
Yeah.
There's going to be new flashy uniforms. That's great for the fans. That's great for recruiting, I guess. For me, as I'm an old soul type of guy, like, I could care less what my uniform looked like. Oh my God, I get to wear it'd be sweet to wear all white. But I don't, I think on Twitter somebody's been trying to push a lavender uniform.
Yeah, that's
God help me, I will, yeah.
Let's keep that on basketball.
Well, it's just horrible for football. Why would football wear lavender? It has nothing to do with K-State. Nothing.
K-State football, no.
No, it doesn't. And if players are, there's stuff in the works.
My hill is the white uniforms, the all whites, white helmet down to white pants.
Yeah, and I think that would look very clean and something K-State as a school could pull off.
Yeah, because you can't redo the jerseys, but you use your existing white jersey. You just add pants, which are pants.
Yeah,
and a helmet's a helmet. You get blanks and you put what you want on it.
But so there's going to be some. That's about like the only real big change I think you're going to notice. But it's still football, and at the end of the day, wins and losses matter. And don't let the first year or the first 2 years judge how where this university is going. Because if you let that happen, then after Prince's first year, you think that things were going to be good because we won 7 games, went to a bowl game.
For me, and I think this is obvious, this is true with any new coach, but I think in the case of Kansas State, when you had a long-time coach, 27 years with that 3-year pause in the middle, so over a 30-year span, this program was truly about Bill Snyder. I mean, even so much so that when Prince left, the university said, we got to bring Coach back. They talked to Gary Patterson, but they brought Coach back. So it was about Coach. It's over now. We know it's over now. Last time he left, and you're like, oh, we kind of want Coach back, But this program had an erosion of momentum and energy around it. It was winding down, and you could sense it as a fan because the fans were winding down. They traveled less. They weren't as loyal to coming to home games. Attendance was kind of dropping, not dramatically. We've seen the enthusiasm wind down in the student body. They don't show up in the numbers they used to. Maybe that's cultural, more than dealing with Snyder. But this program really needed new energy. Any new coach brings it. We're seeing it happen at Kansas. According to some Kansas fans, they're a couple years away from a national title. But that's the wild-eyed stupidity that comes with a program that doesn't know much about success and wants it desperately. Been there. I recognize it because K-State's been there. Stan Parrish was going to change everything because he had a national title ring from the 1AA level. This program needed this energy. It needed, from many standpoints, starting on the recruiting trail. They had to get better depth, better quality, and this recruiting with 2019 commitments, whatever it is huge. But the fans needed to have the little boost. It ended in Nashville. That loss at Vanderbilt, not just because it was a loss, but because how poorly it was executed, coached and played, stopped the program dead in my mind. I think it's really cool that in week 3 of this season, they get to go back to the SEC, back on the road with a game that I think will measure the enthusiasm of this fan base. How many people make that even longer drive to Starkville, Mississippi than Nashville? I think it's longer. Maybe not. Maybe actually it's not. I think about it. I think it's about 2.5 hours from Memphis to Nashville and Memphis to Starkville. Anyhow, I think a lot of fans are going. And I think if they win, the fan base will be lit again.
Well, I don't even think they don't even have to win.
They have to look really good.
They just have to play good.
Play better than the team did last year at home.
Yeah, because
That Mississippi State team was really good, though.
yeah, and they lost a lot.
Lost a lot.
But they also have, the transfer quarterback coming in. So, they got some stuff. But
Right.
we got to look at this. I mean, you can look up north here, a couple hours away, at a school in Nebraska. And when Tom Osborne, retired, Frank Solich took over, and he did good things. They weren't bad.
No.
But then he got ran out.
Yeah.
Okay? And they haven't been the same
No,
since.
they haven't.
Now, with Scott Frost there, things will change.
He's going to bring it back.
He will bring it back. It'll be a contender 9 to 11 win team, I think, every year.
Right.
They will be in the Big Ten conversation with the Ohio States and Michigans and Penn States of the world pretty quickly. So, can Kleiman do it? I think so. I don't know why I think he can do it. Do I expect it to be at Nebraska's level? No. I don't think K-State will be 9 to 11 wins type of school because it's different. So
Only 2 programs.
I mean, Penn State struggled when the whole Joe Pa thing.
Yeah.
And Franklin had 1 year there that was really good, that they were on the verge of getting over the hump. But, he's just hovering. I mean, if K-State wins 8 games, that's a good year. Obviously, we all want them to do more and be better, but if they go 8-4 every year, great. And you throw in a couple 10-win seasons there in the mix, 2 every 10 years, hey, I think that's good for K-State.
Only 2 programs in my assumption, my approach to this. I've done a lot of historical stuff with college football, and most of the great football programs grew out of World War II. Guys came back from Europe and the Far East and went into college football as men. Nebraska, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Michigan, UCLA, Notre Dame, USC, Penn State. I'm leaving out programs. I would imagine Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska. They all recruited those guys and immediately became football powerhouses. There's never any changing that. That's a club that, that's Mount Rushmore. You're not going to take anyone out of that. Even if UCLA sucks, they were still a traditional power. I think only Florida State and Miami have kind of joined that group, partly because of the market they're in. Mm-hmm. And they could do that. Kansas State will never be in that club.
No
matter how good they get. I'm trying to think who's risen up. Wisconsin.
Never.
They've been great. They're not in that club.
They'll never be in the club.
They're just not. I mean, maybe 20 years of winning would put them in the club, but I don't see it. I just don't see how you can do that, have 20 years of winning, because programs like Michigan, that's in the club, couldn't do it. Penn State couldn't do it. Ohio State's had their downtimes.
Clemson will be in the club. They're probably already in there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the South is probably a place. Florida would be in the club. Georgia would be in the club. I don't know if they were post-World War II. Maybe they were. I haven't really looked at that. Tennessee, some of those SEC programs have moved into it just because they're SEC, but Clemson would be another exception. Mm-hmm. So you just threw my theory out the window, but that's good. I'm going to jump around on the script a little bit here, Marcus, because I think we got enough questions to get us through 3 full segments and not really have an overtime. Wildcat Wabash asks this, if Kleiman only wins 4 games this first year, do you think that has the potential of being too big of a setback in recruiting and fan support that he couldn't overcome it long term?
If he only wins 4 games this year? No. I don't expect much. I mean, I think the Vegas odds are 5.5, which I think's perfect. If they win 6 games, great. If they win 4, so. It's year 1. The cup board was bare with depth. It's going to take time. just like it is at Nebraska right now for Scott Frost. And he ran off a lot of players. You know,
He did.
They were terrible. How many games they win last year? 3 or 4? You do see him calling and running them off? No. You got to give it time. And you know, obviously you can kind of tell by certain how the product that you're putting out there, if it's close or if it's going in the right direction. Like with Ron, it was going downhill, and you could see it going downhill after that first year.
Well, so many coaches left. You knew there was something rotting on the inside.
Yes, you knew there was something rotting on the inside. So if you hear something in year 2, 3, if you start to see certain things that you saw with the Coach Prince era, then you know it's not probably going to come back, or it's not going to start getting better.
Let's let Ricky Tiki Tavi, great name by the way, round up the first half of this Powercat podcast. At what year under Kleiman should we start evaluating him for him and not what Snyder left behind? In other words, what year do you say, okay, this is what Kleiman is going to be at Kansas State?
3 to 5.
You know, for me, taking this to basketball was year 4. And I still was completely wrong. You know, I'm like, it's 4 years. The talent he inherited's gone. The program's bottomed out. Let's make a change. And I admit I was wrong. I really never ever saw this uptick happen. Now, are they as good as I think they possibly should be? Maybe not. But so even then, basketball and football are different beasts. If you get into year 4 and you don't see the talent, you're not going to recruit your way out of that with one star player.
I would say year 5, because his first recruiting class is
trash. I don't mean that in quality. It just doesn't really count towards him.
Yeah. Even his second, because he hasn't even played. And if you start recruiting, so when they start playing this year, say they start playing good, you still only have 3 or 4 months to recruit. Most kids already know where they're going. You can't just change some kid's mind. So I think it's that, what would be the second full year?
So 2021 class.
21 class, when they're juniors, sophomores to juniors, you'll kind of get a gauge on where they're going. But then, you know, so I would say 5, so that you can allow those kids to mature and grow. So I'd give him 5 years. Unless he went like 1 and 2,
unless it fell apart.
Unless it's like 1 and 10 this year, 1 and 10 next year, 1 and 10 the next year after that, then you have to.
I absolutely don't see that happening.
No, I think they'll get to 6 wins. I really do.
This season, I do too.
Do I think it's gonna be more than that? No. Do I think it could be less? Yeah. I think it'd be 4. It could be 5.
Big 12 stuff. He actually is coming in a year with some new coaches and some changes, and if he's the one that can catch him at the right time, he could.
I haven't even looked at the schedule. It depends on his home games.
Yeah, but luckily it's a year with 5 home games in the Big 12, and you know your road games. One of them's Kansas, Oklahoma State, Texas, and Texas Tech. So
that's the home games.
Those are the road games: Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech. So. And sometimes it's better to have a road game.
Yeah, like get away.
Yeah, well, but you can win at Kansas.
You can win at Tech.
You can win at Tech. It's the new coach. They've done it in the past, but with a new coach, new system, you might catch them at the right time. So sometimes the road game's good because, honestly, I don't care where you're playing Oklahoma in your first year of coaching at Kansas State. You got problems. You just don't have the talent. You don't have the
They
matchup.
should win their non-con games, besides Mississippi State. We just throw that one out there. But like any other non-con game, they should.
So you're just like me. 2-1 in the non-conference, 4-5 in the conference, 6-6 overall. Take it, move on, recruit off of it, build off a bowl game. I'm fine.
It'd be 100% a successful season.
Right. 4 wins. It's not fatal.
No,
it's not fatal. Regroup.
I think that's what people expect.
Yeah.
I mean, well, the odds makers. I mean.
The over-under's 5.5. That's another question from K-Ned that I'm going to throw in here. I say over. Would I bet it? No.
I say over, but I wouldn't bet it.
Right.
And if you ask your good friend, somebody that we both know, Kelly, she would say probably not bet it too.
She'd probably say under. If you're betting the odds, just taking your passion out of it, I don't know. I'll ask her. I'll text her later and say, what would you do with the 5.5?
She'd probably take under.
Yeah, because
Well, I don't know. She might.
sees the odds.
It depends where the money's at on that, too.
Yeah. That's it for the first half of this Powercat podcast. It's Marcus Watts, former Kansas State safety, and Tim Fitzgerald here in the WTC Gig Powered Studios. That segment was brought to you by Tanner's. I don't even know if I mentioned that. Get into Tanner's this weekend. Go see them. And, of course, get into the fridge for your alcohol needs. They are the proud sponsors of this. You can subscribe to this podcast that's sponsored by the fridge at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. Just go click that podcast bar at the top of Go Powercat, pull it down, subscribe, and after you give it a sample, give us a rating. Let us know how you feel about the Powercat podcast. We hope you like it. We enjoy doing it. We're going to do it a lot more often come this fall. And we'll be back with the second half of this week's podcast.
The gang will return with more of the Powercat podcast.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month slows. Full terms at mintmobile.com.
When the whole family comes together to watch the game, nobody wants to miss a second of the action to run to the grocery store. With Instacart, you can get all your weekly groceries in as fast as an hour. Less time shopping means more game time. Let's go. Visit instacart.com to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. $10 minimum per order. Additional terms apply.
Back to Fitz of the Powercat podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor.
Welcome back to the Powercat podcast from the WTC Gig Powered Studios. It's Tim Fitzgerald, publisher of GoPowercat.com, and joined this week for a couple podcasts from Marcus Watts. Riley's on vacation, Zach's doing other things. Watts said, let's do some podcasts.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah.
It's been a while. I was like, I've been thinking about it, so.
So we were sneaky. The secret podcast is what I called them, were the code words with people. I DM'd people on the website and said, hey, send us questions. We don't want Riley to know we're doing it. So this is the second one of them. Hopefully he realizes by now we've done it. Hopefully he hasn't turned off the Twitter machine or gotten off the message boards completely while he's in Hawaii. Rough life he's got.
Yeah. Rough. I've been there. It's probably humid as all get out right now. I would not want to be in Hawaii right now.
He's at the North Shore. Do you think he's going to take up surfing? Actually, there's no waves right now. It's not the season for it.
According to his last podcast, he's great at softball, so he's probably great at surfing.
Oh.
Love your island.
Shot across the bow. Mm-hmm. ContraCat gets us started here. We're sponsored by The Fridge. The second segment's brought to you by The High Low down in Aggieville. Stop in and say hi to Seth and everyone else. Or say hi low. ContraCat, here we go. What is the biggest evolution in college football since your playing days? And I think he means schematically. And how,
probably the zone read, because it really wasn't. It came in.
It's everywhere.
But it came in at the tail end of my.
Has the zone read lost its effectiveness because so many people do it? Players.
I mean, there's more defenses to defend it.
Right.
I mean,
but defensive players have seen it a lot more.
Yeah.
But still,
there's more film on it. Vince Young took it to the next level.
Well, he could make the wrong call and still get it right.
Exactly. And so.
It's Michael Bishop.
Yeah. So it's kind of, it was kind of around my time and stuff, but where they've taken it and then the passing game, like literally, honestly, the passing game, it's impossible. Some of them are impossible to defend. Like you could run certain play every single time, and if you don't have the athletes on the defensive side to play man-to-man, you're never going to stop it.
That's the biggest thing.
Except for the quarterbacks, either the bad throw, turnover stuff. That's what stops some of these offenses. That's the only thing that can stop it.
We talked about in the previous podcast the challenge of getting receivers and maybe the advantage of getting running backs for this program because of how it's schemed. Is it a good sale for a cornerback to say, yeah, come to the Big 12, you're going to get challenged every day? Or is it or do corners probably go, I don't want to go there, I'm going to look like a fool?
I think it depends on what program you go to. Because if you go a program that plays a lot of zone, I don't know if I'd want to go there.
No.
But somebody that plays, a lot of I think the NFL will probably look more at whether or not you can play man-to-man.
Zone's kind of a pit you get lost in, because if you're playing zone to survive because you don't have the talent at corner, then you can't get the talent at corner because they're looking at you playing zone and they don't want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, K-State played a lot of zone under Coach Snyder. It's safe.
And which was his point. Let's not give up points.
Yeah.
Let's get the ball back and
Klieman needs
possess
to have
it.
the same.
I don't think things are going to be as radically different as people.
I mean, the bend but don't break is frustrating. Trust me, it is. I mean, I think this staff will be more aggressive, but
They took the bend but don't break too far, in my opinion.
yeah.
They let him
when you're playing 10, 12 yards off honestly, as a corner, I'd want to be either 2 or 3 yards, no more than 5.
I don't want to tackle you. I want to break up the pass.
Well, I don't want you at full speed, and I'm backpedaling.
I'm toast.
You have no chance.
Well, first of all, if it's me, I can't backpedal. I'd fall down. I'd be a bad corner in so many ways. Well, let's take this to the next step from I Like Pickles Cat. We hear about this offense a lot. We've talked a lot about this offense they're going to run, similarities with Coach Snyder, differences. But Klieman's a defensive guy, and Scotty Hazelton is the most proven on this staff in some ways as an FBS coach. I think Van Malone and Buddy Wyatt might have something to say about that. But what will change in the schemes on the defensive side of the ball? Do you think there'll be more man? Try it?
I mean, you got to have the players to do it.
I don't think they do.
know if they have the players to do it. And they're not going to do it just to do it.
That's fatal.
Yeah, and so that's been the problem with K-State. They had Duke and Reed. Mm-hmm. They could have been more aggressive with those two.
I agree.
But they didn't still.
I think Duke was a better
Duke's better man-to-man than he is his own.
Yeah. And
that's why he got, drafted.
He got a chance, yeah.
So, I think they'll try to be, but they have to be careful. There'll be probably some more zone blitzes, where you may be, bringing a linebacker but dropping a defensive lineman back into that hole. That kind of stuff. I don't think you'll see much more man-to-man. Look, the spread offenses that are in the Big 12 with man-to-man, if you don't make the first tackle, you're done. Mm-hmm. So it's better to probably play zone more and try to get him to make mistakes.
I love hearing you argue with yourself, because your mentality is, let's play man.
I want to.
But you have to. You understand the pitfalls of that.
I do.
Because these schemes, these spread schemes, are all about spreading you out. That's why it's called that, and creating one-on-one opportunities.
There's few teams that can just play man in college football.
I've seen some really good corners.
And that's Clemson. That's Alabama.
Look the fool trying to tackle a guy in space.
Those are the only schools that could probably... Alabama plays man-to-man a lot.
If you were a defense coordinator, what would you do?
With this team?
With this team.
I'd bend but don't break. I'd play zone.
And I would
keep everything in front of you and tackle well.
I freaking hate it, but I would do it. I would do it, but pick some battles. Change it up once. You got to change it up. You got to give quarterbacks different looks.
I would bring exotic blitzes. I would throw some wrinkles in there. Drop 2 defensive linemen. Bring 3 linebackers. I mean, I would do a whole bunch of different stuff like that. But K-State does not have the athletes to compete with the athletes that we will play. And that's not a knock on all those guys. It's just they're better They're just better athletes.
Some of them were recruited to do exactly what they were doing at Kansas State. Can you transition them into different things under Scotty Hazelton? I think they will be more aggressive with blitzing, but they will not be Phil Bennett.
No.
Because Phil Bennett
had some dudes.
But when he was at
Come
Baylor,
on.
he had some dudes, but he also had an offense that could cover up their mistakes.
Exactly. K-State doesn't have an offense like that.
They don't have an offense like that, nor is this offense, like Snyder's, designed to do that. They're not designed to score a bunch of points real quick. You get down by 21, it's going to be a slow grind back. Maybe they'll get there. But the problem is if your defense can't stop them, your defense can't stop them.
K-State's offense and K-State's defense are similar in that they want the score to be 21-17.
Well,
Baylor,
that's something
with Phil Bennett wanted it to be 45, a shootout.
Right. That's something Cliff Kingsbury never understood. He was such an offensive mind. He couldn't grasp the defensive side. You couldn't couple the defense he was trying to play with the offense he was doing. The two have to work together.
Yeah.
You can't run the spread and then just plan to outscore everyone and not have anything going on in defense. Baylor, really, Art Briles is a horrible human being, but a great football coach, and he understood that. Let's attack. Let's create some more opportunities for our offense because we took the ball away. And if they score every time they don't turn the ball over, we'll still outscore them. And that worked for them for the most part until they got to the really good programs.
Until they got to the really programs that could put up those points.
And could stop their offense.
Yeah. I don't know if they would stop them. They wouldn't stop them. They would slow them down.
Okay.
Because they couldn't stop them.
I like Pickles wants us to flip it over to the offense now. They ran about 2/3 of the time at North Dakota State. And I think that's skewed because they were ahead. And almost every game they were ahead, so they handed the ball off, ran the clock out, and got out of there with a 4-touchdown victory. Hey. I think it'll be closer to 50-50. But is he going to have to throw it more at Kansas State to deal with the Big 12?
No. You can throw 50-50. You can do it 50-50.
Well, I agree with 50-50, but 2/3 running I don't think will work. Unless you're really freaking good at it, and then you can run the ball and score touchdowns. And
well, are you saying this year, or are you saying in general?
I think they're going to be playing from behind.
They're going to be playing from behind. They're going to be throwing more than
they're going to have to throw.
They're going to have to throw more. That's the only. Do I think they want to? No. So maybe in 4 years, it may be complete opposite because they may be able to control the game and their defense will be better, that they can stop people more.
Maybe they'll have to throw the ball so much this season to catch up that they'll convince receivers they can catch the ball at K-State. They'll get good receivers and then go back to running the ball.
It's not that hard to catch the ball. It's more hard to get separation. Catching the ball is easy. That's not the problem.
It hasn't always looked easy.
That's not the problem at Kansas State the last couple of years. It's been nobody can get off a man-to-man. Nobody can get off separation. Sorry, that's just point blank what it is. Don't watch the ball. Watch the field. Watch the receivers. Don't watch the quarterback. Watch the receivers and see if they get separation. See where Skyler's having to throw the ball. Does he have to throw it in a 2-yard window, or does he got a 5-yard window? It's up to the receivers to give him that 5-yard window. And that doesn't happen. Now, if Skyler becomes a really, really good quarterback, that 2-yard window becomes a 5-yard window in his eyes.
Yeah. Right.
Like Patrick Mahomes,
No.
a half a yard is 10 yards.
You put the ball into the...
He's going to hit the spot.
Yeah.
Skyler just isn't there yet. No, he could be there this year.
Get out more, Cat. I finally put it together. This guy's a homebody and he wants to get out more. I'm encouraging you to do that too. What qualities of Coach Snyder's should Coach Kleiman try to emulate to be successful at K-State? Where should he change it up besides recruiting, which is obviously different?
Is zero.
Zero.
Absolutely zero. Kleiman just needs to be himself.
I agree. Just do your own thing, man.
But you have to respect.
Right.
Here's where we have to always get into this, because this is what Prince didn't do. You have to respect what Coach Snyder had done and what he's meant to this university and this program. If you try to trash everything he's done and try to throw everything out the door and say, this is my program now, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do, I don't care what's been done before, It'll never work.
I don't care if you were friends with Coach Snyder and a big donor. I don't care if you were a former player and prominent and want to come back. Ron Prince was threatened by that, and he didn't want him in the building. Chris Kleiman won't be that way.
No,
he's very secure.
I guarantee he hasn't taken down probably the lifting records over the last 6 years.
Well, that's a great transition right into the next question, because that's exactly it. They kept Chris Dawson, the strength and conditioning coach, so it's all relevant. It's all comparative. Old fella gets us going here at the end of the second segment. We'll wrap this up with old fella with a couple questions. I've heard that KSU's strength and conditioning program is among the most demanding in the Big 12. That said, it doesn't seem to get much notice. What's your view of the quality and intensity of the program and any changes Kleiman might have made to it?
I mean, I don't know what Kleiman's doing.
I've heard it's
probably just as bad.
It's nuanced.
Look,
just as bad.
when a coach comes in the first year, he's probably going to test his players.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I want you to quit if you're not tough.
He's
enough.
probably ran him into the ground a few times. He's probably not going to run him too much into the ground. Coach Snyder's, in the way he went about things from when I was there, obviously different strength and different coach. It was just tiresome more than anything.
Work to do work instead of work to accomplish things.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so,
I've heard.
But that's just kind of how the old school mentality is.
Very.
So it people just going through the motions, just trying to get through it and just get out type of thing. I think Dawson's done an amazing job.
He's tough.
And what he did at KU before he came here was...
He played a big role in Mark Mangino's success.
Very much so. So he's got all the pedigree and stuff, and, I'm happy they were able to keep him around. And I hope they do, because I think he's a great strength. I mean, K-State looks bigger now than they have, when I was playing, we were tiny. But it wouldn't matter for me. I mean, I'd have to be on steroids to look big. I could lift as much and eat as much.
Can we try that out? Can we see if we put you on steroids?
I mean, I may get on steroids for when I have surgery or something. Who knows? But
just get ripped. I went on steroids and got fat, but they weren't the right kind of steroids. So,
oh jeez,
wrong steroids. Chris Dawson's a beast. I would not want to go through one of his workouts.
No, they got two in the prominent men's sports. They got two great strength and conditioning coaches.
Look, they have more equipment, more technology, more understanding of everything. And that's really what's happening now is the science of conditioning has advanced tremendously.
Yeah, it's not just all, hey, go run 100 yards 300 times. Not like that or 20 times. It's good for you. It's more structured now. It's more like, not just running 100 yards is going to be good. It's the effort in that 100 yards. Yes, you want to give effort and stuff like that, but just, hey, I ran 10 miles today. Great.
How does that
How
help
long
you
did it
become
take?
a football player?
What is, it's more specific, and then you'll have position-oriented conditioning,
right,
which is more understandable now because the movements of players and what they need is better understand.
Now, there's some people out here, this next question from old fella, who think the paintball and everything is new. Those things were going under, Coach, in recent years. Fun stuff, team building, morale building activities. What wasn't happening was the social media accompanying it. So you really didn't learn much about it. Now, Kleiman has embraced social media, and they're there, and they put up the fun stories. How important are those things for a team, though? To go out and do something together that's not football?
Here's the thing. Players will look at it different. Some will think, God, I just want to go to my house. I don't want to have to go do this activity. Right. I'm around these guys all day, every day. Why do I have to go do this now? I just want to get away.
It is an opportunity to shoot someone you don't like, though.
It is. It's fun. The barbecue stuff they had recently was fun. But look, everything's built in the locker room. It doesn't matter what you do on that, because there was issues last year within the locker room. Mm-hmm. They went paintballing last year. Mm-hmm. Did it help? Nope. It's all in the locker room. It's where that nobody sees, that we will never see, that you'll never see. That's where everything's built.
No social media will be in there showing the stuff that goes on in a locker room.
No.
The natural leadership or destructiveness of bad leadership that takes place. And we saw
Teams will be destroyed or not destroyed when it comes, and it's all comes in.
People talk about a lack of leadership. A team can be destroyed by an abundance of bad leadership in that it seems false and phony and you don't want to buy into it.
Oh, yeah.
Or the feeling like, well, you're above us.
Or the coach is sitting there, hey, you need to do this with your players and stuff, and then they do it. That's fake.
Right.
So.
Should Go Powercat have a paintball activity?
Yes, just so I can shoot Riley.
There's a good chance if we do paintball, within the first 2 minutes of this activity, I will be down with an injury.
So will I.
Being shot by my employees repeatedly. None of them helping me. They're just shooting me over and over. They've turned on me with paintball. Maybe we should have paintball, but like take on someone else. Like WTC.
There you go.
Well, GPC against WTC paintball.
I'm out. Anything that has to do with physical activity besides golfing, I'm out.
For God's sakes, you're in the best
Until I can get this back fixed, I ain't doing anything except for golfing. Even though that's probably worse for your back, but I don't have to run and pull a hamstring.
One final thing from old fella, and I'll handle this probably. When Coach Tuiasosopo was hired, there was a thought. They wouldn't have thought. I mean, they were pretty open about it. He's hired to bring in Polynesian players. We really haven't seen that. There was someone in the first class. And that just doesn't happen immediately. It doesn't. There was a tradition of some Polynesian players coming to K-State.
It wasn't a lot.
Yeah, there was just a few. Mario Fatafehi being the most recent memorable guy.
There's also been some ones that came that were
bad.
Like, we're supposed to be real good and we're trash.
Right. You got to get the right guy. Just because you're Polynesian doesn't mean you're awesome.
No, and it's hard to get him to Kansas.
Bingo.
Look, these guys don't want to come to Kansas.
If they're truly Polynesian and they're coming from the islands or even a West Coast guy, man, get them to Texas is a challenge, and it's warm.
Yeah.
Don't
expect a lot. You can expect some.
Do I want 2 defensive tackles a year that are legit? Yeah, because in K-State's going to be playing for Big 12 titles.
Just let the Pac-12 keep destroying themselves, and they'll start coming. Because it's happening. Because the Pac-12 is just god-awful.
Or we could just do what I really want and start stealing programs from the Pac-12 to expand.
But then you'll never get them.
They'll just go to those schools?
They'll go to
Arizona State?
Exactly.
Bastards.
Because it's closer.
How about us here in Kansas?
Come on. Let's get it real. Scottsdale, Phoenix, or Manhattan, Kansas?
What if we started an advertising campaign? Manhattan, the Polynesia of Central America. That didn't sound right. The Polynesia of Middle America. There we go. We're no longer in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. I don't know if that'll work or not. Get over to Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, subscribe, rate us, do your thing. Sign up for our YouTube channel. There's so much stuff we want you to do. We mostly want you to subscribe to GoPowerCat.com. It's 30% off an annual subscription. Get that done. Football's coming. There's not a better special that I know of, unless they spring one on me. Just go subscribe. Look, if you miss out on another special, I'm sorry, but you're still going to get value for what you subscribe to. The product, what my guys put out behind the paywall, is absolutely incredible. Compared to any other media outlet, it is truly premium analysis, commentary, coverage, interviews that you don't get other places, and inputs you don't get other places. We've been doing this a long time. That means I'm old. But that also means I've been around it, and I know a lot of guys like Marcus Watts, who's here offering his input. We're not here to be friends with the coaches and players. We're here to cover Kansas State football and basketball and do it in an unbiased, independent manner. We don't work for the university. What we put up isn't driven to sell tickets or anything. It's driven to feed the fans what they need to know, what they want to know, and what we believe to be the truth about K-State sports. It's all at GoPowercat.com. We're going to take a break here. We're going to come back with a hybrid overtime, maybe just a third segment. Got some questions about the Big 12 that I think are pretty good from K-Ned. That's on the other side of the Powercat podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor.
The gang will return with more of the Powercat podcast.
So I'm a father of one. I gotta find a babysitter. I found Care.com and I was blown away. Through the platform, I was able to find local and experienced candidates along with their reviews and rates, which were way more affordable than I anticipated. Care.com really put me at ease knowing that they were all required to go through a background check. If you're like me and you need to find someone reliable for your childcare necessities, check out Care.com. Find the ideal sitters for your childcare needs.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
Back to Fitz of the Powercat podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor.
It's the overtime, or in this case, the third half, which doesn't make any sense, but it's the Powercat podcast. Does it ever make sense? I got so many pages here, Marcus Watts. Tim Fitzgerald, Marcus Watts, as we wound up a double dose of the Powercat podcast on this holiday weekend. Or week. It's just a week. It's weird having the 4th of July in the middle of the week.
Yeah, next year it's on Saturday because next year's leap year.
Oh, I get an extra day next year?
Unfortunately.
I'm going to screw around on the 29th of February. I can do jack crap. Some good questions here. We'll get to some Big 12 questions from K-Ned. We kind of covered the over-under. He wanted it all in the Big 12. Real quick, though. Oklahoma, 10.5. I'd bet over.
10.5 wins?
Yeah.
Under.
Under? Including a bowl?
Including a bowl.
I don't know. This is from FanDuel. I don't know if that's regular season or bowl. It didn't include it. Let's say regular season, 10.5. I'd go under. I think it'll be 9 or 10. Texas, 9.5.
Push.
Yeah.
I can't push 9.5, but
I would. This is why I don't gamble.
Yeah, this one's
okay. K-Ned, we'll get back to your Big 12 questions because I want to start this off with Wildcat Wabash. Rank the talent level of the team these three coaches inherited. Love this question. Ron Prince, Snyder 2.0, and Chris Kleiman. Who inherited the most talent from their predecessor? I think Prince, even though it was down. Are you pausing here? You're just lost in this question.
Just lost. What was the question? Read it to me again.
Ron Prince, Snyder 2.0, the 2009 Bill Snyder, or Chris Kleiman. Who inherited the most team talent?
Well, that's easy. Prince.
I agree.
I mean,
they had Jordy Nelson, for God's sakes, and Marcus Watts.
Well, you had Jordy, who had a very good NFL career on offense. I mean, James Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
You brought in Freeman, but, still didn't inherit, but you still brought him in. Defensively, we had more, Brandon Archer, Zach Dials, Rob Jackson, Steve Klein, defensive line, Ian Campbell. I'm forgetting some people, but you had a lot of people that had some experience playing, and some of those went on to play in the NFL.
If we use that as a measuring stick, the NFL, I don't know how many NFL guys are on this team. I think Wyatt Hubert will be an NFL guy. I think a couple of the offensive linemen.
He's too small.
You haven't seen him lately.
Tall.
Huh?
He's not tall enough to play defensive end.
Don't insult Thor.
I don't know. No, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
It's a tough question.
Could Skyler maybe?
Yeah. There's a lot of similarities.
A lot of improvement.
There are a lot more similarities between the state of the program all three times than differences. All three times, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. and the momentum had stopped.
Ooh, I don't know. Snyder 2.0 was pretty horrible. He took over some crap
They
that
did.
Prince left. Some crap. I mean, they were bad. What'd they win Prince's last year?
5.
They won 5?
Mm-hmm. I think. Yeah, I think they were 5-7, 5-5.
I thought it was like 3 or 4.
But they were crap.
Yeah.
But still, it wasn't
I mean,
dismantled.
Yeah. Anyway.
Off kind of weird question. You probably don't even, you've been so busy. I like Pickles Cat wants to know what we think of UConn going back to the Big East.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's weird.
It's not good for Wichita State.
No, it's not at all.
Yeah.
My cold.
I don't know what they're doing with football, though.
That's right. That's the big question. What are they going to do with football? They're going to go independent.
There's no way they can go independent.
They're going to try. That's all they got. They can't join.
Can't they stay in the conference?
They won't take them. They won't let them.
As just football?
Yeah, they said, no, get the hell out.
It's not good for basketball. But UConn's been dirt. I don't
Well,
know.
they got caught cheating and fired their coach.
Yeah, he just got a 3-year show clause. Did you see that yesterday?
No, I did not.
3-year show clause, and they got a 2-year probation. 2-year ban from...
Here's my cold take. If I'm Wichita State, I ask the Big East if we can beat them. Then you're in a conference with Creighton. Your old rival. You're in a true basketball conference.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be bad for Kansas and Kansas State if they got in Big East. I mean, the biggest season isn't like it used to be, but...
That's why they brought UConn back. They want it. They felt like they were missing a traditional piece, and they needed it. UConn is currently the only state university in the Big East. Why not bring in another state university?
Look, Jim Calhoun ain't coming out of retirement, and there ain't a Jim Calhoun sitting there. So UConn isn't coming back anytime soon.
The finances of this baffle me. It's horrible for your overall budget to...
How much stuff they've changed? Because they just left 2 years ago, right?
Well, and they built a big football stadium. They got a nice new football stadium.
Yeah, I don't know.
For a program that...
I don't know.
All I know is if you're UConn...
Is UConn football Division I or Division I AA?
They're one.
They just moved to one not too long ago.
Yeah, not too long ago.
Maybe they go back.
That's one of the choices. They go back down to FBS, but then they'll have, or FCS, they have the nicest stadium in FCS because it's like 50,000 seats.
That means they can get better recruits, probably.
It seemed like a pretty
does football
sudden
bring
decision.
them money?
Really?
Really?
Well, not in the American Athletic. That's not. They don't have a big contract for football. It was a basketball conference that offered football. So
Yeah.
financially, they do go down, but apparently they save a lot of money in travel because they'll play.
If they go down?
No, I'm talking basketball because they'll now be playing Georgetown, Seton Hall, more regional. They'll have some other teams that got to go out. But I think bringing in a program like Wichita State, couple them in there with Creighton and DePaul and kind of a Western thing going, I think would be good. I don't see it happening,
No.
but I'm just thinking out loud. That's why I called it a cold take.
Okay.
It's dead on the vine before it ever arrived. That seems to be a trend in my life. Okay, a couple Big 12 questions as we round up the second of our holiday podcast. K-Ned wants to know, this is a great question. How important is this season for Gary Patterson? It's been up and down since going spread, and they had a lot of problems with injuries. They can't seem to find the right quarterback, and now they're going to possibly try Alex Delton as a grad transfer as their
Alex Delton's not going to play in.
sluicing at quarterback.
I love Alex. I mean, Alex is a Hayes boy, but he's not. I don't think he'll be playing.
Here's my problem. We talked about you've got to fit your offense with your defense. I don't think the spread was a fit for Gary Patterson football. I think they need to go more traditional. He needed to go the opposite. He was kind of caught in between with his offense. We're going to run, we're going to pass, and then he decided to go spread. We're going to throw it.
I want
It
to
didn't
know
work.
what
run the
they
ball.
expect TCU to be. Do they expect them to be a non-Power 5 10-win team? Is that what this?
Yeah.
Are those the expectations for TCU?
He's not going to get fired.
Because to me, TCU, look, when they joined the Big 12, look, their conference got 10 times harder. They didn't have as many easy wins. They played one or two hard teams a year.
Does this sound familiar? What's going on at K-State?
Now they're joining conference where they're having to compete with Texas,
Week in,
Oklahoma,
week out. Attrition with injury.
Yeah, Texas, they're competing for the same kids. Well, they're probably out of those, the big names down south, they're at the bottom half. And I mean, yeah, they get some recruits, but they're not going to get, if it's between Texas and TCU, kid's probably going to go to Texas most of the time.
Most of the time. Not always.
They may get one or two, but
well, lately kids would go to TCU or Tech over Texas just because.
Yeah, but
Herman gets it going again, which he is.
You can't just go. I don't expect. I mean, TCU was good when they. I was happy to bring him in when they were beating all those. Having some good games and stuff.
K-Net asked about have they lost their identity. Well, their identity was they were the non-Power 5 power. They were the
Gary Patterson. But here's what we talked about. He's a defensive coach. He brought in an offensive coordinator. Let him do his thing.
Right.
Does Gary know about offenses?
Sure.
He does, but
he literally doesn't want to mess with it.
No. But if you bring in an offensive coordinator that wants to run his thing and it doesn't work, what do you do? And they've had a lot of injuries. That program's been snake bitten by injuries. A lot. Especially on the defensive side of the ball. But he ain't going anywhere. He got him into a Power 5 conference. It's kind of like Bill Snyder.
Yeah, he's going to have to really, I don't want to say overstay his welcome because that's not true of Coach Snyder either. Just kind of make it obvious that things are only going to erode further, which is what happened at K-State. He's fine.
Yeah.
But as Kane said, he looks tired. He just doesn't look like the same Gary Patterson. I think he's a little frustrated with the program. Life was easy in the Mountain West.
It's not an easy school to recruit to either.
Well, in some ways, yes and no. If you're a non-Power 5 team and you're sitting there in the Metroplex in Fort Worth, it's great. Yeah. The players you can get to Fort Worth are going to be better than anything else in the Mountain West and good enough to go beat an Oklahoma in a one game
every 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you're getting good players, but you're not getting the same level of players as other teams in the conference. You don't have the best players in the conference. No. This is going to be Chris Kleiman's challenge, too. Yeah. You will not have the best players. You will not have 2 games on your schedule that you really have to prep and rev up for. You are going to have it week in and week out.
You're going to have to play mistake-free and be as healthy as possible and catch a lot of these teams on an off day.
They could play horrible in half their games and win by 3 touchdowns. That sentence is for TCU in the Mountain West and North Dakota State in the FCS level. Matt Campbell is good at Iowa State. I'm impressed with him. But is he the 19th best coach in the country, according to one list? Unanimous being the 3rd program in the Big 12, coming off a 96th ranked offensive year with Hakeem Butler and David Montgomery. That is a great question. Offensively, there's no way they're going to maintain what they had. Those are 2 NFL guys. Those are 2 really good players.
Yeah, but they also lost their quarterback. Or 2 quarterbacks.
That's the most amazing thing he's done at Iowa State.
Yeah.
Is they have survived quarterback issues that would have been fatal to everyone.
If their quarterback would have been healthy, they had been top 50 in offense last year. Easy.
If they can get a quarterback to stay healthy and be really good through a whole season.
Because they have Purdy's back, right?
Yeah.
If he stays healthy, I think they'll improve offensively. Because everybody just focused on David Montgomery last year. That's all you had to do.
Yeah, they struggled a little bit when he was out.
Yeah.
Is he the real deal, Campbell?
I think it's too early to tell.
Still. And what is it, year 4?
I mean, it's Iowa State. What's the real deal? 7-8 wins? I look at them a lot like K-State. 7-8 wins a year is a good year. Throwing some 10 wins every once in a while.
Is he capable of that? I don't know if he is.
I mean, they did it in early 2000s.
I can see him being a guy that kind of sets up shop at Iowa State. He can say I'm staying, but come on, man. Ohio State, if they come and offer, Michigan comes and offers, you're going to leave.
He'll eventually leave.
But he might get him to seven wins a season consistently, never quite get that next offer, and the fans will grow bored with 7 wins when
they'll
they
have a year like Seneca Wallace's year.
They got to hit the right formula.
Yeah. That's the same thing with K-State. They got to hit the right formula.
Look at Kansas. They found the right quarterback with enough good players in the right sequence of timing when K-State dropped off under Ron Prince, and they had success. They hit the jackpot.
Yep.
I don't know. They've got to beat Iowa.
But I do think he's probably easily one of the top 20 coaches in the country.
That's his next question. How big is the Iowa game, the Cy-Hawk game for him? He's got to win that game. He's got to stop losing to Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
That just kind of – I feel like that's one of those games kind of like Bill Snyder would beat coaches that have more talent, have more enthusiasm. But I'm the old veteran. I'm the chess master. I know what pieces to move to win this game, even though I'm inferior. I think Kleiman has that. I don't know. We're going to find out. People ask, do you get this a lot? How good's K-State going to be this year?
I mean, yeah, I get that all the time.
Yeah.
What do you think about the team this year? You think they're? I have no idea.
Yeah, you want to go, look, it's my job to guess, educated guess, but it is. I would almost say, I do this. What do you think? I want to know what you think as a fan. I value that. I don't know.
I think the expectations need to be as low as possible as a fan.
I would agree. I see some scary expectations.
And anything that happens, yes, don't expect too much. Just because you like what he says or, oh, you heard this news. Oh, that's awesome. Just calm. Because one or two injuries could turn this season into a dumpster fire. It's
a sweet spot. It's hard to find it. It's hard not to be like, whatever, we'll see what happens. And it's hard not to be, boy, they're going to be really good. I think they're going to win 9 games. You got to find that optimistic realism in which to exist.
Turn off the purple glasses. Turn off the purple Kool-Aid.
They have some positives here. They could be pretty good.
They're going to be good in this position.
But
what's going to happen?
It's entirely possible. This team, this season, it'd be a little bit different team under Bill Snyder, could have fewer wins under Chris Kleiman than it would have under Coach Snyder.
Oh, yeah.
Simply because it was a proven system.
Well, yeah. You knew the offense in and out. This is all new schemes, all new stuff, all new coaching. I mean, you knew what you were going to do against Oklahoma with Coach Snyder and offense. Oklahoma knew what you were going to do too. So, right. I mean, there's just a lot of different scenarios.
It's new for the coaches, and it's a new system, and it might work great, and it may not, and we just don't know until they start playing football. Coach Snyder might have gotten the same group to 6 wins. Coach Kleiman might end at 4. Maybe it was slipping and it would have been 4 wins under Snyder and Kleiman gets 6. We'll never know that exact comparison, but I know this. Unless this team goes 2-10, even 3-9. Someone asked earlier about 4 wins. Would I be happy? No. Would I take it? I'm not going to be down. I'm still going to think the future could be good. But I'm also not one who believes, as some older players and some fans, that only Bill Snyder can do it at Kansas State. Nobody else could possibly do what he did. He was a miracle worker, brilliant coach. But he also built something that can be sustained by another coach.
Yeah.
The program has been built. It's not 1989. Hell, it's not 2009. The facilities are incredible. The tradition is there. The fire within the fan base there. And the name recognition is there. Kids growing up know Kansas State football. And it's never going to be Texas, Oklahoma in their hearts and minds. But 4 or 5 years down the road, they can be getting good players again. The kind that they got at Kansas State in the early 2000s.
Here's the thing. Kansas kids that are highly recruited, they want to leave. Because I would rather go – the state's not that – it's a good state.
They don't have enough talent to sustain one football program, let alone 2.
Yeah, there's just not a lot to do here. It's like, but if I get recruited by someone, like when the Brown brothers left, I totally get it. Why wouldn't you go to Miami? Why wouldn't you go to Florida, state of Florida? But obviously we all look at it like, oh, you're just gonna be another guy there,
which in some ways is true.
Which is true, or you could be the man here. I'd probably still go to Florida to the beach.
It's interesting.
So
They have to get it built up to the point where kids want to go. The same can be said for Nebraska at one point, but kids grew up with Nebraska football, and if you're a Nebraska kid, you want to go. Got to go there.
but it's also going to take a recruiting cycle, I think, of kids to do it.
I know.
To start the wave.
We'll see. There's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for a couple podcasts, partner. You got things to do. You got to get back to your life. Got to go check out your meat that's smoking.
No.
That sounded dirty. Didn't mean to. This is the Powercat Podcast.
Got some work stuff I got to get going to, too.
Have a great 4th of July. I'm not sure when the second podcast of this dual podcast will be up, but be safe. Have a great holiday. Have a great weekend. This is the Powercat Podcast, sponsored by Fridge Wholesale Liquor, and we will be back next week.
Powercat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street Publishing.